Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Moshe Mikanovsky, product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. In today's episode, Moshe and I are wrapping up our series on session replay. We spoke with some great guests about several tools. So let's go ahead and hop in. How you doing, Moshe?
I'm good. How are you, Matt?
Doing great. Heading into October here. So hopefully the fall weather comes along with it. So
I don't know if I'm hopeful about that, but we have no choice.
True. Yeah, you have snow following you as well. So yeah, that's right.
Let it still be a bit green.
That's right.
And then red before we get to the white.
That's right. But things are good. Things are going really well. Exciting times. Very busy. So.
Yeah.
That's
good to hear. You've been also to a conference recently, so I'm sure you.
I did. Yeah, I had an awesome time at Dreamforce, Salesforce's yearly conference in San Francisco. I had a great time representing the company, Form Assembly there. So had a lot of fun and got to do some sightseeing along the way. Got to see the Golden Gate Bridge. It was my first time there, so it was a lot of fun.
Nice, very nice. My daughter just remembered this week how. She was amazed the first time that Zoom included virtual backgrounds. And the first background that she put was the Golden Gate. And she's never been there. So she's like, wow, I'm at the Golden Gate.
That's it. It was a bucket list thing. I grew up watching Full House, if you remember Full House, the TV show. Yes, of course. So I grew up watching that. So it was like, I got to see the Golden Gate Bridge and then went to Alcatraz as well. So so it was good. It was a great professional and personal experience.
Amazing. Yeah, conferences are a great tool for product managers, and we should talk about it in a future episode because I think there is a lot of things that product managers can do and should do in conferences. So let's do that.
That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, seeing customers face to face and having talking to them very personally and hearing about how much they love the product and opportunity to ask about feedback and what we can do better is great for product managers.
And did you find any interesting tools also? Because when you go to conferences, you also look at what other people are doing. So that's the place, a Salesforce conference. I'm not sure if it's the right place for product people, but maybe.
From a product perspective, not necessarily, but from a sales and overall theme of it, you can only guess what the theme is. It was AI. So
of course.
So Salesforce is making a big push with Agentforce is their new AI assistant. I mean, that was a big theme of the whole conference, and a lot of the companies there were AI focused as well. So from a sales and marketing perspective as well.
I wonder when people will find it already tiresome to say the word AI and just drop it from the lexicon.
That's right. You can't get much shorter than AI, right? I was trying to think of if we started off with artificial intelligence.
It's not even that. It's just like in the last few conferences I've been to, that's what everyone is talking about. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I was so tired of hearing about it.
Hearing it. Yeah, that's it. I don't know if maybe I'm hearing a lot more of the word agent. So whether I was at Salesforce and heard the word agent, I've also heard it in other realms of like agent this, agent that. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, like, AI is obviously very broad and incorporates a whole bunch of different things. So I'm wondering if words like agent will become more predominant, where it's a little more focused. Like you go, oh, an agent is somebody that like helps you or is a thing that does something for you, like a sales agent, for example. So maybe the word AI drifts off in the background, and then it gets a little more focused. So.
About the outcome, really.
Yeah, about the outcome and how it's actually applied. Yeah.
Exactly, and not just the technology that it's been used for.
Yeah, not just that's right. Because machine learning was the buzzword maybe 5-6 years ago. ML, machine learning.
I think the problem is that people like buzzwords, and AI or machine learning is buzzword about the technology to say, oh yes, we are using the latest trends, etc.
Right.
But they were not necessarily using them for the right outcomes or for the right solving the right problem. And then, so what? What's the point?
What's the point
Use
of it?
it for the right problem and the right solution, and then I will be interested.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Let's talk about what we're here today to talk about.
Let's do it.
The session replay summary, because we are just wrapping up our series the only series this year that we've done about a specific product type for product people, session replay. And it's also an interesting thing there that we just did this one this year, where all the other episodes were just one-offs about specific different topics.
It's really cool how the show has evolved. Like our mission is to talk about products that product managers use and to really shine light on these tools. But the show has definitely evolved, and I think this year we've taken a step forward while staying true to our roots in terms of like bringing session replay tools to the audience. So yeah, we'll keep it going.
Yeah, it's still the core is still being very practical and bringing specific tools that product managers or product people can use. But a tool is not necessarily just a product or a software product. It could be, we covered quite a few books this year, and we have a few coming up, and also
mindsets.
Mindsets, that's true, and frameworks. So there is quite a bit of things that we are evolving to, but it's all good. We're learning a lot here.
Absolutely. I always think about the analogy of like Toolbox or something like that.
Exactly.
And you have all different types of tools in there. Some of it's software, but some of it's frameworks and mindsets and conferences, talking to customers, and that kind of stuff. So it takes all forms. So we're excited about it. So.
Exactly. We have to be well-rounded product people.
Absolutely. You never know what tool you're going to need for what kind of job you have.
Exactly. Or where you learn something new or utilize something new. So let's talk about session replay. This was an interesting one.
Yep.
Yeah, we had 4 products.
Yep.
We started with
PostHog.
PostHog, yes, with Vincent.
Yep. And then we had HotJar, FullStory, and then we wrapped up with LogRocket.
Yes, and just shout out to our guest. So PostHog with Vincent, FullStory was with Mandar, HotJar with John, and LogRocket with Zach and Nikki.
Yeah,
and we had a good representation around the world, from Australia, United Kingdom, the US, and Canada.
Canada, that's right. I got the US. Zach representing the U.S. there. So
a couple of them.
And John, and it was great to have John back on the show as well. John was one of our early guests many episodes ago, so it was great to have him back on the show and catch up with him.
And Zach is also from the U.S., so you got some.
Yep. I got some. I'm always trying to. I got a tally. I got a board over here. You don't see. So.
Yeah, we should publish it one day.
That's right.
So a few interesting things over there. PostHog was the first open source product that we covered. And that was really interesting to hear about that. Vincent actually is quite excited about it. He was really excited to share with us about the usage of PostHog. It is developed mainly, or at least in their marketing website, because it's developed by developers, it's an open source, it is developed with engineering in mind.
Yep.
Which is an interesting twist there, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be coming into the session replay series. I was thinking product analytics and product focused tools, even product design, focused. And we've talked about it, customer success, but I didn't necessarily think about a tool that was focused around engineering. And so that was really cool to hear Vincent talk about PostHog, and then looking at the site and exploring what they were talking about. Yeah, you definitely see where this kind of fed into the overall stuff I think we learned about. Session replay can be used across the business, product design, CS, engineering, because ultimately at the end of the day, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to learn? Trying to learn and understand users and how the application is being used, right?
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see something focused on engineering.
Yeah, and their website is also very cool. I really like.
Yeah, their website's great. Honestly,
it's a lot of fun. Absolutely. But the thing there that I always think about, between engineering and product management, mainly, maybe it's because my background is an engineer, so I came from that background. Not open source though, but still engineering. Engineering is it's not an easy thing to do. It's quite complex. There is a lot of complexity in it, and we know it's one of those expensive parts of building products. And we know that we want to really involve engineering in every part of the process that we're doing. But in the discovery, it's more on creating, quick proof of concept or quick working mockups or things like that, just to see that our ideas are working. But
Hmm.
when we, kind of narrow down and what is it that we should scale or build, for scale, it's quite complex and it takes time, right?
Right.
So my approach over the years was to look for products that I need as a product manager that will take as much as possible from the work of the engineer and move it into my hands if I could. So I don't
Hmm.
have to worry them with, data analytics or in-app messaging or any of those things that someone else developed already and it's in their core product. And the engineers just focus on the things that we want to create value in the world. So the main focus of our company, right?
Right.
So that's why I'm kind of like looking at it also from that perspective. What does it mean? I've never used PostHog, so I don't know how does it take to, really for the engineers to implement it.
Implement it. Yeah.
But
That's
does
what
it
I'm
mean,
thinking about.
yeah, does it mean that they need to be involved a lot in the process, or it means something else, right? So that's an interesting point always there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and some teams they don't may not have a product manager, they may not have a product designer. So
Mhm.
engineering takes that role. Like, I'm
Mhm.
thinking of a startup. So a
Mhm.
startup is going to have engineering and developers, but you may not have that product person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, so that's a really interesting point. But they do cover a lot of, functionality, and
Yeah.
that's also one of those things that we figure out that also in the past that there is platforms these days that are doing many different things, and that you don't need to buy multiple products and stitch them together, but they do a lot of the things that you need them to do. So going wide with multiple functionalities versus going deep with specific functionality done very well. And the interesting thing with session replay was that many of the products that we featured, like FullStory and HotJar, and I think LogRocket as well, come from session replay, like being very deep and very doing it very well.
Hmm.
They extended their functionalities to other things, where the products we didn't feature in the session was those that started somewhere else and then added
Hmm.
eventually session replay. Because these days, Pendo has session replay.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
believe that Amplitude, they have session replay, and Mixpanel maybe also. So many of the product analytics that we covered in the past, back then they did not have session
Did
replay,
not have it. Yep.
like 3 years ago, but now they do.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how things evolved over time with those products. And again, what are the reasons for us to choose specific products for our stack?
Yeah, that was another interesting point from all this. Like coming into it, I didn't necessarily think about the product analytics perspective of it. I was thinking more behavioral analytics and understanding the experience itself. But like, yeah, it plays. Now that we've been through the series, I'm like, yeah, it makes complete sense that you would have
Mhm.
product
Mhm.
analytics and session replay on the same platform.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a no-brainer now to think of Pendo. So as
Mhm.
soon as we got into it, we used Pendo at work, and so I started to think about, oh yeah, session replay. Pendo has it. You obviously have a lot of experience with Pendo
Mhm.
from your past experience. So yeah, I'm like, it makes perfect sense to merge those two and
Yeah.
have those features. But it is interesting to see like where one started on one end of the spectrum on product analytics, the other started on session replay, and they've kind of merged in the middle, and they're
Yeah.
kind of like in the same kind of space now.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of it was also, the technology to build session replay and
Hmm.
to build data
Yeah.
analytics. Because I think we touched on it in one of the episodes that session replay is not video recording. It's not that we record the video and just show to the user the recording. It's really recording all the interaction that the user has with the browser and with what they're using, and then replaying that. So
Right.
if it is the CSS, if it is the different elements on the screen, if it is the user movement on the screen, and both type of products, data analytics and session replay, record this type of elements.
Yeah.
It's just that what is it that they do with that? So with data analytics, they show to the user, to us, the product people or whoever is using it, how many people use something more from a data perspective.
Yep.
And in session replay is like from visual perspective. So they replay or render
Re-render, yeah.
session to the user, right?
Yeah.
So it's a different outcome completely, but that's why it makes sense if they already record this information, it makes sense that both of them will do that.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. I recall speaking with Mandar about the FullStory, where you can look at the aggregated insights and you can look at the overall, like the product analytics perspective, and look at the actual data and the results, but then you could drill down to watch the actual experiences and get a more detailed understanding of what the data is telling you. And so I like the fact you can kind of go through both worlds, but ultimately they all serve the same outcome of understanding what's going on and how you can make that better.
Yeah, exactly. So traditionally, session replays were very always coupled with heat map to show like exactly where, because it does record the movement of the mouse on the screen.
Yeah.
So it's quite easy to show a heat map of that because all you have to do is just replay that, I guess, and show where the user is mostly on the screen, right?
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. And also a lot of those products started from more the marketing websites, and then evolve into like the product websites, right?
Right. That's how I felt about HotJar. I had used HotJar previously, so that's how I felt about them. Whenever you look for heat maps and that kind of stuff, like HotJar is one of those companies that just comes up in searches. It was cool to talk to John about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think we mentioned it, but HotJar was acquired by Content Square. And Content Square, I think they also have other products that I'm not 100% sure, but I think they also have products for session replay. So there is a lot of other products out there in the market that we didn't cover. Of course, it's always the case.
Always, yeah.
It's based on the guests that we can find.
That's right.
So if you're listening to this and you're using other products, let us know. We can always talk with you on the podcast. And yes, HotJar for some reason seems to be like the go-to tool in the past. For few people that I spoke with, they're like, "Oh yeah, we use HotJar," and I think that understanding the use case that you need it for and your product is really important before you choose a specific product. And we saw like John was very happy with HotJar. He's using it on his products that he have, the path to product. And repo is I think repo is the new one that he's building. While on the other end, Nikki and Zach, they really needed something that gave them much more control because all of their apps are actually hosted on app stores of third parties. So something like HotJar didn't work for them, or like other products that we covered.
Right.
So LogRocket was the solution for them.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the different use cases, especially in Zach and Nikki's use case of building apps that third parties serve. That's pretty cool. And to think about the usage of your app through another party, and then that kind of leads into the security as well. That was another insightful thing that I got from all this is coming into it. I'm like, oh, you're recording my screen. I was actually using applications this weekend, and I was thinking about in preparation for talking about this, I was like thinking about, oh, this experience is probably being recorded. And as I navigate around and and click on stuff, and the security of that, because I was doing some things that were financially related. I was thinking about like, oh, I hope they're like hiding this stuff. I hope they're not showing this stuff to somebody. Going through this process and like obviously being security and compliance focused in my current role, this whole episode shone light on that for me.
That's a very good point. And I wonder if they actually, like on that site that you mentioned, if you would go back to their terms and conditions, would you see anything there mentioned? Because you agreed to use it probably.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
None of us are reading those terms and conditions.
That's right.
But it should say in the terms and conditions somewhere
it should.
What they're doing, and also the privacy policy, what they're doing with our data, right? With your data. it would be interesting to maybe contact them and ask them, hey, are you using a session replay here? And
Right.
how do you do that? Now, I sometimes, when I'm doing a bit of spy work, it's so bad, but a bit like just looking into things, I would go into the Chrome console and look into which tools that are
Yeah.
integrated into the app.
Yep.
So sometimes I will say, oh, Pento is here, or other products
Yeah.
are.
Google
Uh,
Analytics or something. Yeah.
exactly. So sometimes it's easy even to see what they're integrated with because it's on the browser end of things.
Right.
And sometimes it's a bit harder to know. But I don't know if you're curious as a user, as a client, maybe you can ask them.
Yeah. That's really cool. And it's something to think about. It's like as you're using all these products to think about, you are often being monitored. I think in today's day and age, often we're probably being monitored in some way. Whenever you're on the internet, you're probably being monitored. So just keep that in mind. I think that this whole like series helped shine the light on that for
Mhm.
me because, like I mentioned, I'm not doing session replay in my current role, so I don't have a ton of experience with it. Getting into the space and hearing about how our guests handle security and compliance, how these tools handle security and compliance, they take it very seriously.
Yeah,
And so that was also reassuring to
yeah,
me as well. Like
yeah.
everybody that does this stuff takes it legitimately.
Hopefully
So,
everybody.
but
Hopefully. Yeah.
hopefully everybody that are very small sample size that we
Yes,
talked about.
exactly. Absolutely. Interesting enough, a bit, behind the scenes of our podcast. When I was looking for guests, I talked with a guest. I will not mention their names or the product they're using or the company they were working for, but they were they wanted to come to the podcast, but then they checked with their company, and the company was not comfortable with that
Hmm.
because they were worried that their clients, will all of a sudden see that they are, recording their sessions or
Oh,
spying on them.
interesting.
So they were not comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Think that this is maybe a valid concern, but on the
Hmm.
other hand, the way I've seen this sold in the past is that, first of all, terms and conditions, it has to be there. You cannot just
Yes.
do that. So the clients really need to have it in there. Even if they don't read it, they can go and read it after. And also privacy policy. The second thing is also to enable or disable it. So allow the clients to enable it completely for their usage. So if a user doesn't want their session to be recorded,
Hmm.
then don't, disable it. As simple as that, right?
Yep.
The thing there is that the third thing, and maybe the third layer is, or maybe it's a second layer, and disabling is the last layer, right? But the middle layer is education, because we don't do that to spy on people, or at least most of us, or in a valid
That's right.
organization, an ethical organization, we don't do it to spy on users. We do it to make the system better for the users. So
Absolutely.
that's true for data analytics, and that's true for session replay, etc. We also have to have in our organization internal policies about this and internal training, and make sure that our own employees don't abuse it, right?
Right. Yep.
Especially with sensitive data. So yes, there is definitely risk there.
Hmm.
But I think that it's really important for companies to be transparent about it and to enable all of those fail safes. And the last fail safe is to allow the user to disable it, because again, if they disable it, they can control it, and they also have to trust you that it's really disabling it, and it's not just a button that you do for show, right?
Yeah, that's
Because
right.
unethical companies might do that as well. So
It might. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It may not really be off, right?
yeah,
Y-
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I think transparency is key. It's an interesting thing, like thinking about, yeah, if we told people we are recording them, would they act differently? Yeah, if we all, if we all know we're being monitored in the moment, yeah, maybe we act differently. But at the end of the day, like you said, trying to make the experience better for you. And so being transparent and being open and honest about that is
Hmm.
the best way. It's
Hmm.
always the best way, I think. So,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, if someone's using your application that much, they're going to want to give feedback. I think they're going to want to help you help them, right?
Yeah,
I'm struggling. You see, I'm struggling. Fix it, right?
yeah. I think as product managers, we know that because we
Yeah,
want to get the feedback, so we have that empathy that
yeah.
we know we that,
But not everybody does, right?
but not everybody does, and not everybody appreciate it to that level.
That's a
Mhm.
good point.
Yeah,
Yeah. So and that was another point of all this whole series. Like session replay can go beyond product into design, into CS. And so yeah, if you do have a tool like this in your company, yeah, there's other actors in your business that could be using it. And so we just need to be mindful of that and be mindful that people need to mask certain data. It was actually cool to hear that some of these companies actually actively mask stuff, and so they can recognize certain fields or certain words or certain ways your applications requesting information. And so I think some of them automatically mask stuff and hide stuff, or you could do it manually in order to cover stuff up and so people can't see it. But that was actually cool. So that was kind of going into the tool itself,
yeah,
where it's actively knowing like, hey, we have to be secure and compliant about all this.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the use cases are definitely really cool to see and to hear different use cases. And it goes back, kind of closing that loop on our first theme that we ever did was data analytics products, that it's used by different departments in the organization. It's not just for product people.
Right.
Even
Right.
though for us it's really, really useful, and in my opinion, we should even drive it. But in many organizations, product people don't drive getting those products, and then they already have them, and they're like, oh, maybe we could use that as
Maybe
well.
we could, yeah. I think we spoke to John about the HotJar and CS using it. So if CS has a question or wants to get more detail and information about something, they could actually go and watch that replay to
Yeah.
where they don't actually have to just take the ticket that they receive and the information there. They can actually see what's going on.
Mhm.
So that's another use case where it's extremely
Yeah,
valuable.
absolutely. Absolutely. So the other thing that is really interesting with session replay is insights,
Hmm.
or not just the ability to replay specific sessions, but to get insights, to go the next level, and to
Yeah.
get insights from multiple sessions. And I believe FullStory is doing it quite well. And that was one of their unique value proposition when they started.
Hmm.
But I think it evolved also into other products these days. And I think this is really powerful.
And even LogRocket, I think that's maybe where some of the AI is going in terms of like bubbling up this insight. You can ask questions from it, and it'll actually analyze the metadata and the recordings and all that information that it has. And so it
Mhm.
takes the manual work off a product manager side or whoever's the user is, and
Mhm.
it bubbles up that insight for you.
Yeah.
And so LogRocket just recently announced their Galileo AI this summer. So I think that's where like the AI is coming into it. I don't remember FullStory having the AI, but possibly they do as well. So you want to get to the insights so you can take action.
Yeah.
And that's where the insights, like if it can help you with that be
Yeah.
quicker, then that's great.
So FullStory have insights for a while now, but those insights probably, whether they're using AI or not, I don't think
Yeah.
it really matters in behind the scenes. It's just about surfacing specific insights from many, many, many sessions. So you, instead of you going through all of those sessions
Yeah.
and trying to take notes and then see, okay, what are the insights that I have from here? It actually bubbled them up.
Yeah.
So maybe it's AI, maybe it's not.
Maybe it's
Whatever
not.
that
It doesn't
is,
have to be. Yeah. It doesn't have to be.
doesn't have to be exactly.
Yeah.
So if there is a specific place where all of your users are getting stuck, instead of you having to watch all of those replays, why not just surface these up to the user, right?
Right.
And yeah, and I think that Zach actually was focusing on that a bit when we talked about it, that unlike data analytics products, that it's more up to you to say which of the entities and features you want to get a data analytics for, and then you have to go
Hmm.
through the data analytics. With the session replay and LogRocket, you can actually just let it run, and then it will tell him there is some anomaly over here. So it will highlight those anomalies to the
Yeah.
user, and then the user will be able to go into it and say, oh, okay, something is going on here. So these anomalies are not coming from one session. They're coming from many sessions.
Right. Right. Yeah, that was another great thing heading into this series is how does somebody go through all this and identify those insights? As a product person, we're all super busy. We're all in kind of meetings all day. So it's like, how do you have time to like really sit down and like watch all this stuff? Nobody does. So it was cool to see how all these products aggregate all this up, provided these insights. And then if you want to go, if you have time to go deeper, you can, but it takes all the heavy lifting off of you.
Yeah, maybe that's one of the reasons that I never actually use them very heavily. I used them when I had them, and usually it was the designer that brought it in and implemented it, because I didn't have time to go and watch them one after the other after the other. And so it was like, and who can afford this with
who has time to do that, right? If you watch one, you don't really have, you're like, that maybe they struggled here, but did other people struggle? And how do I start to watch those other people struggle?
You can get into a rabbit hole of start watching all of them and try to learn from them. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's where the insights come in and go, okay, like we've identified of anomaly here that somebody's hung up on this page and they can't get, there's no back button or something like that. They can't go back. And how do they go back? And that's okay, cool. So let me go watch some of those, understand the problem, and then we can address it and identify positive outcomes. So it's super exciting.
Cool. Yeah. We learned a lot in this themed episodes that we had. And even though this year it was the only one, we still have a few in our pipeline that we should do in the future. And we always said that we should go and revisit some of the products or some of the things that we've done in the past, because things are changing so quickly, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else you can think about?
My biggest takeaways come down to the security, the insights, the AI, and just the scale of it and the people using it. And I think we covered all that in our recap. And I think all of our guests were super helpful in helping us understand it and how we can apply it as product managers and as product people. So I think that just about covers it. I was super excited about the series.
And it was also fun to go back to our where we started and focus on one specific type of product.
Exactly. It was fun. And at the end of the day, that's our roots. And we're always going back to that, and helping product people identify the right products is what our true mission has always been. But it's also excited. We got some great episodes coming up as well. Looking forward to, so we'll keep them coming.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Moshe. Thank you to all our guests that came on the series. We enjoyed speaking to all of you. Thanks for taking the time to meet with us. Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate all of you, and we'll talk to everybody next time. Take care.
Thank you, Matt. Take care, everyone.
Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate the feedback and support. Please leave us a review to help others find the show on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to the show.